we're grateful that we have this opportunity to be gathered here together today for a seminar, and we ask that we'll be able to learn what that would have us know and draw closer and together and to draw closer to me. We are grateful for the many blessings that we have and the opportunity that we have to be studying here at BYU. We ask for their help as we continue on throughout our day this week and say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, welcome to the seminar, everybody. We're going to go ahead and just get started. So just as a reminder, so the reason that we don't have a ton of information on this slide is because we want you guys to look it up if you're really interested in it. On our blog, Skylar's been doing a great job of updating that blog just with more information, sign-up links, etc. So if you're interested in any of these things, go ahead and find it on the blog for links to sign up, etc. So stadium cleanup, thanks again to those who have been coming. We're going to have Shane talk to us just in a little bit about Rocky Mountain Conference. The next stadium cleanup that we're going to have is October 7th, after the game. The game time has been released against Northern Illinois. It's at like 1:30. So if you haven't been coming, because kickoff's been starting like at 8:30, and you don't want to come clean the stadium like midnight, now's your chance. It's going to be around like 5:30 or 6 or so. Yeah. Again, STEM after school program. It's every other Wednesday. It's going to be this next Wednesday, October 24th. There is a link on the blog to sign up at 3:45 p.m. Super cool opportunity there. We're going to have a BYU football watch party on November 3rd. The game is going to be against Boise State. It's going to be probably in the evening sometime. It might be 8:15. We reserved a room on campus. There's going to be food. We also have a student in the civil engineering department on the football team, so that'd be kind of cool to cheer them on there. And then we have a faculty versus students volleyball game that we're going to organize and set up on November 15th at 6 p.m. in the Smith Fieldhouse. If you're interested in going to that. Also pressure your professors to come to that as well. They talk a lot of smack, but they can't back it up, so we actually kind of want to make fun of them. Just kidding. And then we have a new service opportunity with the BYU RV pool just opening back up. They have this thing called Adaptive Aquatics where they have special needs kids who struggle with swimming come every Thursday and Friday from 11 to 11:40. Don't go Thursday because you should be here. But on Friday, you can go from, and they especially need volunteers on Friday, from 11 to 11:40 you can go help these kids learn how to swim and help them out and stuff. And you can go get a service point for it too. You have to sign up though. So you can Google Adaptive Aquatics BYU. I don't think we have a link on the blog yet. Is that right? But you can Google that and it should pull up kind of a sign up list that you can. Okay, as far as our clubs go, Concrete Canoe is meeting Thursday, today, October 18th at 6 p.m. outside the Structures Lab. It's a mandatory. What?
Come get a point.
Come get a point.
Activity point.
An activity point if you come. And it's a mandatory meeting, from what I understand, if you want to do Concrete Canoe.
So it's a really big meeting tonight. We're doing a walkthrough of the Structures Lab. So please come. If you come, you'll get an activity point. And we'll get a little bit of safety training and stuff like that. It's really fun and it's necessary for the lab.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron. Steel Bridges meeting Tuesday and Wednesday, 7 p.m. at 234 at the Clyde Building. Our EERI Club is meeting Thursday at 6, so today and Tuesday at 5 at the CB. The IT Club is meeting tonight with Fair and Pierce coming and giving a forum of sorts at 5:30 and 404 DEB. They also have Highway Cleanup October 20th at 10 a.m. Again, if you go to that Highway Cleanup, you can get a service point for that too. Is Shane here? Shane, we're going to turn the time over to Shane just real quick and talk a little bit about Rocky Mountain Conference.
So, we just got the first mailer from the host this year, Boulder. So they released all the competitions that they're going to be hosting there. So we're going to talk a little bit about each of them and hopefully encourage you guys to participate if you're interested. We have the paper still. Again, those are due at the end of December. I'll go through briefly what the prompts are and the requirements for each of those. Silver Decorn Canoe, pre-design and mystery design I don't have a lot of information about yet. Blue Sky competition is a competition to propose a future student conference competition for ASCE. There's a surveying competition, and then there's this blanket for competition, which I have no idea what it is. There aren't any details on it, so please don't ask me. So in about a month, we have to turn in a preliminary list, numbers of the people who are signed or planning to go. So we're going to send out another link, and it's going to be on the blog as such. But if you are planning on going to the Rocky Mountain Conference, please go to this link, sign up, tell us what events you're planning to compete in, and just so that we have a count and we know approximately how many people are planning to go. So the non-technical is a meeting paper. This is a prompt this year. 2017, ASC added a new Canon 8. What value does this Canon add to the civil engineering profession and student chapters? And that's Canon 8 right there, if you want to take a look. It's just about treating other people fairly across all, multiple age, religion, whatever, etc. And these are the requirements for both of the papers. So it's 2,000 words max. Oh, sorry. This is for the technical paper. It should focus on a technical issue with relevance to the civil engineering field of study. It can't be in any other publications, and citations should follow this. So again, if you are interested in the new paper that's due by the end of this year, everyone who submits a paper, they will get like a $10 gift card, and then those who are chosen to go to the Rocky Mountain Conference to present will get about $100. So yeah, these new competitions, we really do need some leadership to head these competitions. If you're interested in getting some leadership experience, having something to put on the resume, these are great things to be able to lead. So again, Blue Skies, it's just to create a student competition that meets the challenges that we're facing today. And surveying, they're going to have a team of about 6 to 12 students. They'll randomly pick 3 of them to do 4 different events. One quick thing about stadium cleanup. There's only 2 more games. Again, if you want to go to RMC and have your travel fees paid for, you need to go to 3 of them. But I'm going to cap the number of people at 25, so don't all expect to go on the last game. Expect to get all your service points because I'm not going to give you them. Okay? So yes, once again, if you are planning to go to RMC, please go to the link, sign up, and make sure that you tell us which event you're going to. Any questions? Yes?
Can I say something about the technical paper?
Yes.
So we need someone to submit it in order to go to nationals. So it's really important that people do it. And you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If you're in English 316, your final project is to write a technical paper anyway. So use some research that's civil engineering related and submit it. So it'd be great.
Sorry. Yes, really, it's any technical paper related to civil engineering. And it's only 2,000 words, it's not that much. So if you are interested, you want to go to a free trip to Colorado, I would recommend that you do it. Any questions? Any other questions? Okay, thanks guys.
All right, thanks, Shane. Okay, so just to finish up before we get to our speaker today. BOAAC polls, from what I understand, the Royal Blue ones have been ordered, but if you're still interested, go ahead and email us. And if we have a bunch of old boring ones, like these ones, I think they're cool, but some people think they're boring. Email boaasc@gmail.com, they're like $15 or something like that. Or you can come bring a chicken or something like that. Oh yeah, and then also the deadline has been extended. If you just want an awesome, super easy activity point, you can follow all the BOAAC and BOA Civil Engineering social media pages by Friday, so tomorrow, October 19th. To get an activity point. Pretty much the easiest service point you're ever going to get in your life. Hopefully you had a chance to read all this. Josh is going to talk a lot about networking. He's going to talk a lot about helping us prepare for the FE, for the PD, etc. So we're not going to go over this. So without further ado, let me introduce Josh Ogle. So Josh has been working at Dunn & Associates for the last couple of years. And he's worked on a majority of different structural projects. Prior to that, he got his undergraduate degree here at BYU, and then he went and got his master's degree at UC Davis, if I believe, yep, UC Davis. And he's gained experience in work efforts in California, as well as Utah, so he does know kind of the requirements of what we need to do in order to pass the PD in California. And then beyond engineering, he says he enjoys spending time with his wife, Jamie, and his pups. He says they're the things that keep him busy while working hard, studying hard, and teaching hard. So without further ado, he does have a beard card, by the way, just kidding. But without further ado, let me introduce, if we could welcome Josh Ogle, the hipster engineer.
It's alright, we'll make do. I'll just put this up here. I just don't want to be behind this desk, so. Thank you all for coming. I know you really have to come here, so. So my name is Josh, and I am the hipster engineer. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about me. I'm going to go over 6 different things that you can do to set yourself apart. going to give you some practical tips that you can apply in your life. And then I'll open it at the end for Q&A. So, and if you participate in some sort of way, whether it's asking a question during the presentation or at the end during Q&A, you get first dibs on free swag. And I know you guys love free swag. We got Magic 8 Ball, we got a Rubik's Cube, business cards, that's kind of cool. But and then we got some cool stickers that you can put on your car, on your laptops, things like that. On your baby. I don't know if it'll stick to your baby, but anyways, a little bit about me. So I got my bachelor's degree here at BYU a few years ago, and then I went on to get my master's at UC Davis, where I kind of honed in my skills on the engineering aspect of things. I've had a couple different internships and different jobs, but the most prominent ones were when I was out in California. I worked for a company called Bueller & Bueller. They recently rebranded to Bueller Structural Engineers. And yes, Bueller. Hopefully that's not like what my presentation is going to be like. Hopefully it's interactive and exciting. But I was a project engineer there. I learned a lot, got thrown into the deep end, realized I knew nothing when I got out of school, maybe like a partial percentage of what I needed to know. And then recently I moved to Utah, where I've now become a project manager at Dunn Associates. I'm married and I do not have kids. I have 2 pups. This is my beautiful wife. We were both former BYU cheerleaders. She's here supporting me today. She's cheering me on. Thank you for the laughs there, the courtesy laughs. We love burritos. We love to kind of get outdoors and do things. Here are my pups. Chuck, the rambunctious 1-year-old Weimaraner, and then Walter, the cuddly mini Australian Shepherd. That's their actual sizes. They won't grow anymore, at least I hope so for the big one. Beyond everything else, I recently started something called the Hipster Engineer. It's a website where I provide content and tips and tricks for people that are either students early on in their career to kind of help build and grow in their careers. And then also, over the past couple months, I've been a exam prep instructor for Kaplan. They just bought PPI to pass, and those are the key players in any sort of exam prep, especially engineering. So first off, I kind of want to talk a little bit about philosophy, and then we'll get into some practical stuff. So the 6 ways, what I've dubbed are the 6 ways to set yourself apart in school, in work, in life, and beyond. So the first one is to ask questions. Second, to look beyond. Third, get involved. Fourth, to connect. 5, to be committed. And then 6, to be humble. Really wish I was good at PowerPoint and I could cue in some audio of that Be Humble song. So just play that in your mind right now. Just bleep any of the bad words that there are. So anyways, so the first one, ask questions. For just a quick second, I want you to kind of think to yourself, how can asking questions set me apart in school, in work, in life? What is this crazy Josh Ogle hipster engineer guy talking about? How does that even set me apart? So we'll just get these all up here. So with both school and life, they're both kind of similar. There's a difference between asking for answers and asking for further knowledge, for learning. And so that's something that's big that I've seen in school and in work. I've noticed different coworkers or myself at times where I just really want an answer, and I don't care. I don't care about the understanding part, and that's not a good thing to do. You need to ask questions so that you don't continuously ask those questions later on. Because that coworker of yours or that professor of yours might start to kind of get on edge. I know I've put a couple people on edge like that. But then I forgot to put on Beyond as well. But in life, it's important to ask questions, to listen, to kind of understand people's situations, and understand their point of view. Like if you're in a relationship, if you don't understand somebody's point of view, you're doomed. Trust me, because I've been there where I haven't understood, my wife's point of view, and that leads to us getting in scuffles, we'll say. And then asking questions in like the beyond, further along in your career, thinking far-reaching is look for mentors. Look for people who can help lead you and guide you in your career. Then let's talk about looking beyond. Look beyond your homework and applying your knowledge. Thinking outside of the box, trying to figure out a new way to do things. With engineering, there's so many ways that you can get from point A to point B, and so it's important to not discount one of those over another. In the end, one option will be better, but there are more. I don't know if Professor Fonseca still says this, but I love when you always say, there's more than one way to skin a cat, or something like that. Does he still say that? And then he's like, oh, sorry for all you that love cats. There's more than one way to skin a squirrel. He used to say that a lot. I love Professor Fonseca, he's a good man. But there's more than one way to get to one point than another. And then with life, live a little bit, learn and love. There's more important things than just what's happening in the moment. Think of the eternal perspective. And then ultimately, how are your choices now going to shape your future? Speaking of looking beyond, this is in the courtyard of one of the buildings just off of I-15. You might have seen it. Little did I know in this picture that what we were looking at was going to be a 200,000-pound, 4-story tall waterfall that they put in after the fact. That was literally an engineering nightmare, but we got through it. This is what it looks like as you're driving by it. It's just south of Adobe and the hospital there on the east side of I-15. This whole project was very interesting from the very get-go. You'll notice that there are a couple straight lines on the building, but there's not very many of them. We had to, as a team, we had to look and think outside the box. We have radial grids kind of going in two different directions. It kind of looks like a little bit of a fish in a way from above. It is unlike any other building, and they wanted to design it to 25% more than what you need to as far as what kind of seismic resilience you have. They wanted to be better than their friends down the road, their competitors. I didn't tell them that we also have been working on their competitors' buildings, but I didn't feel like that was important. I think they know it. I just try to keep that on the down low in project meetings when they say, oh, well, their ceiling to floor is 9 feet. We want 10-foot ceilings. We want to go taller. We want to go bigger. And I'm sure the same conversations are had in the other project meetings. I'm just not involved with that too much, at least. All right, getting involved. So this is kind of the same for school and for work. Getting involved in ASCE, ITE, SEAU, and all sorts of other acronyms that are part of some sort of organization, whether it's professional or whether it's just a hobby that you have. Get involved so that you can connect with people. It's the same thing with work and then life. There's ways you can serve in your community and at church and in your families. Get involved with your siblings or your spouse or maybe people have kids or maybe they don't, but in the future you might have kids. Get involved with what they enjoy doing. And then lastly, serve something that's bigger than yourself. get involved with things that can build not only yourself but others and the engineering profession as a whole. I was debating putting this in here, but we'll see. This is kind of embarrassing just because I feel so awkward whenever I'm on camera. But I used my connections, and I got in, which we'll talk about next, about connecting. But I also got involved in ASCE as I ran for an ASCE officer. I just thought this was funny to include, so we'll see if it works. I know, yes. Oh, that one. Maybe it won't work. Good. Yeah, I got a lot of things open, don't judge me. Alright, so I'm hooked up to the internet. Let's see if it... It's not like the church buildings, right, where it doesn't let you like on YouTube. It's always the worst when you're teaching a lesson and you're like, this is an awesome video. It's going to take 45 minutes to download it from your phone. And maybe we won't... Maybe we'll come back. We'll let it load in the background. All right. Well, that was just a tease of something that was embarrassing. Maybe that was destiny. I don't know if that's supposed to happen. But anyways, he says some words. I used my connections. I had some cheerleaders come in and throw candy. That's how I got involved. I might have worked the system a little bit, but people love candy and they also love cheerleaders. So, and if you don't love cheerleaders, then don't let me or my wife know, just because we'll be offended. No, I'm just kidding, we won't be offended. Some people don't like cheerleaders. I can't remember. It might have been. Yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of fun. I don't know, there's reasons why you connect with people, and it's not always, what's the word, selfish reasons or self-fulfilling reasons that you want to connect with people. Hopefully, you're connecting with people so that you can give back, so that you can provide them value. And that's something that I try to do in my day-to-day life is how can I provide value to somebody else? Okay. Is that it? I don't think so. Oh. Okay, that is not me. That might be more embarrassing. Wow. That was awesome. I mean, I wish I could look that good in a bow tie and a top hat, but yeah. All right, let's see if this works. Hopefully it does. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, I'm trying to. This thing won't let me. Technology. Okay.
Hey, I'm Jimmer Fredette, a former BYU basketball player, and I'm here to tell you why Josh should be your next officer. When I am on the court, Josh is on the Clyde. I take it to the hoop, Josh does a VBA loop.
Right there next up.
Threes, Josh draws free bodies. I deal with the press, Josh deals with strain and stress.
Dealing with it right there. There it is.
I work out with the team, Josh works with simple supported beams. I trace my roots to Harlem, Josh makes sure to use a sturdy column. With me, you win. With him, you win. He knows CAD, Rivet, and BIM. For Josh.
Okay, we're just gonna close that out so that we don't do any ballroom dancing or anything like that. Okay. All right. Whoa. Okay, so the important reason to connect with people, especially in one thing that I've tried to do in life, is to connect with them when I'm with them. I do my best to kind of separate work from school, from my life, so that when I'm with my wife, I am present. I am with my wife, I'm giving her my full attention. Still working on that, she can attest to that, but I'm trying to do that. And then obviously making meaningful connections each day. One reason to connect with people, I don't know if you can see these dates, but when I was here as an undergrad before I moved to California, I wrote an email to David Dunn over at Dunn Associates because they had an internship in September 2012. I ended up moving to California, so things didn't quite work out. But then, when I decided to move back to Utah, because this is where my wife is living, and that's what you do with love, I guess. In October of 2016, I emailed him back. We got back to that connection that we had. And so, never discount any sort of connection that you make with students, with professionals, or anything like that. Be committed to school, work, life, and beyond. Take responsibility, take ownership. And then in life, whether it's with different activities that you say that you're going to do, or your relationships, always give 110%. That's something that my wife and I decided when we were getting married, is that no matter what, we will work things out. That we will be 110% committed to each other, and we're not going to let anything happen. Because bad things will happen, but you can always get through them. So whether it's a relationship, whether it's work, whatever it is, be committed to it. Today, because I had this, I'm taking the entire day off of work just because it didn't work with my schedule. And because of that, I have a project due tomorrow, so I will probably be in the office around 4 a.m. or something like that, because I don't want to work late, so that I can spend time with my wife. And that's kind of an arrangement that we've worked out, is I try to come home earlier in the evening so I can spend time with her, because otherwise I'm not going to see her in the morning anyways, due to our work schedule. So we work that out. Be humble. So with this, what I realized right out of the gate when I got my first real job after BYU is that I did not know anything. Like they asked me, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah. What is that? Like, I was super eager to do it, but I was like, I've never even heard of, ASCE 7, which is your main minimum building code standard, and I was completely lost. And so I realized then that I knew nothing. And even every day I realize how much I do not know. The more that I learn, the more that I grow, I realize how little I truly know. So I was like, okay, out of school I knew like 10% of what I needed to know. Now I realize what I know now is maybe like 1% of what I could know. So just kind of realize that. And then with life and beyond, be humble to admit fault and let other people know that they're right and to say sorry. And then always remember God in all things. That was my suitcase as I was preparing to go in for the PE exam, so that was a lot of literature. What you can't see, probably just because it's so small, is I had one of those really small copies of the Book of Mormon. Because what I did was I don't know if this is a good thing, it worked out for me, but I basically said, you know what, I'm going to read the Book of Mormon for 15 minutes every time before I study, because if I do that, I'm reading the scriptures, I'm doing like these good things, so, you know, there's no way that like God is not going to let me do well on this test. Like, come on, it was like the best time of my life doing scripture studies, even to this day. You know, so if you're struggling with scripture studies or whatever, that's okay. I'm not a prime example of that. But putting God first, reading my scriptures and praying, you know, before I started to study for the exam and afterwards, it kind of created this mindset and helped me realize, okay, I know what I know, and now I have to put faith in God and rely on Him. I have to be humble. It worked out for me, luckily, and I attribute all of that to God. I don't think I had a little piece of it, but I put in the work. So, okay. So now let's kind of talk about some practical tips, some different situations. We kind of have these different philosophies, and these are just to like, hey, this is how people that I've seen have stood out, that I've noticed. There's so many other things that you can do to set yourself apart, do things differently. And some of these practical tips, they don't necessarily line up with those philosophical sort of ideas. But I thought they were important. And if what we have here, if what you learn is not enough, we're only scratching the surface on these things. These are the types of things that I like to get into with the nitty-gritty and you know, write posts about or share content about. And so some I've already done on my website, some I'm planning to do. So yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. First, we have the value of an internship. Probably self-explanatory. We'll talk a little bit about career fairs, talk about the job hunt, talk about follow-up, talk about negotiating offers, and then talk about your first job. And as we're going through these, feel free to ask questions. I want to give you guys answers to the questions that you have to make things easier for you. Okay. So first things with internships, you know, you gotta put yourself out there. No matter what level you're at in school, there's always opportunities for you to internship or to work and to get that work ethic. You don't want to sell yourself short, and you want to be a sponge. So over the summer, we had 2 stellar interns at our office up at Dunn Associates. One of them was your very own Aubrey. She was really good. I only worked a little bit with her, but the reviews that I got were like, wow, like she's like good at the different things the different tasks that we give her. You know, she's productive. She's being a sponge. Maybe she doesn't know some of the things that she's learning. She's growing. And then there was another intern named Mitch as well, who him and I worked very closely together. I kind of set his schedule and kind of oversaw all the work that he did. He came in right at a time when I had so many projects and stuff like that going on that I was like, I was so stressed out, and even asked my wife about it. Like, I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, this is the worst thing ever. Like, I have this intern that I have to give him stuff, and like, I still have to figure out my stuff. I don't even know how to break things off for him. But this burden, which I saw in the very beginning, because I'm human and sometimes I have a horrible mindset. I'm not always super peppy and cute like my BYU cheerleader days. But in the end, that became one of the greatest things that happened to me during the summer, and I didn't die, so that was awesome. I think he maybe had one semester, like he had a very special circumstance, and he had some connections that he got into, got his foot in the door, and then he was just a rock star. He only had one semester in school, but he was doing things, by the end of the time, we were like, what? Like, we want him to continue to come back. They've also said those things about Aubrey. I don't want to sell her short, but I have been exposed more to this other intern, but they do speak very highly of Aubrey, so 2 thumbs up for her.
Aubrey's a sponge.
Yeah, Aubrey's a sponge. I hope I didn't create a horrible nickname for you. If I did, then you can come back, intern, and create a horrible nickname for me. So, but the key for that is to listen, to ask questions when you don't understand, and then just do. Like, ask questions so that you understand what the task is, and then just start rolling on the topic. It's okay to ask questions. I ask questions all the time. There's always something that you're not going to know. You'll get comfortable in certain things, and then that's when life hits you, or work hits you, and you're like, oh crap. Oops, sorry, censored. Anyways, yeah, question.
Could you kind of describe maybe how you see people sell themselves short, or more about that?
By sell yourself short, I guess the thought I was getting at is like, it's never too early to get an internship, or to at least try to get an internship. Like, don't let yourself be like, oh, I don't have enough experience. Let whoever's interviewing you, or whatever company it is, let them decide whether or not you're the right fit. But even if they say you're not the right fit, whatever, forget them, go to another place. The reason why I said that is just because I knew this intern this summer who, he basically came right out of school, or right out of high school, and he didn't sell himself short at all. He wrote down, like, he was a goal master. Like, he would write down like 10 goals, like whether it was to learn what, rebar is, or, different things like that, like different terms and stuff like that. Like, he wrote goals and constantly kind of kept achieving them, and like, that's how he learned and grew. So, great question. You're one of the first one that gets dibs on the free swag, just so you know. So. Career fairs. Who all has been at a career fair? Awesome. And I think there was one recently, I think it was like the entire university, right? But in the spring or in next semester, there's one where it's just STEM or engineering, stuff like that. Things that you can do is, obviously have a fresh resume, get a couple of people's eyes on that. Because that's what recruiters or people that are at these booths, that's what they're remembering you by. I've been to a couple different career fairs, and I look at these different resumes and I'm like, I can't remember like who this person was. Like, the resume doesn't stand out, the name doesn't stand out. And so that's why you have to, last on here it says leave an impression, so that they remember you. So I always brought up BYU cheerleading, because it's not very often that somebody's a BYU cheerleader that's a guy. That was my thing. Try to figure out what your thing is. Are you heavily involved in the Rocky Mountain Conference? Is there something that you do there? Anything that you can do to differentiate yourself from others. And then also, instead of going right directly to your dream company, go to 4 or 5 different companies where you're like, okay, like they're engineering, I might be interested in them, but you can practice on them. Those couple times that you're chatting with them, giving your elevator approach, and then once you go to your dream company, it's like your mouth is loose, like you're like ready to go. For the job hunt, do research. Google structural engineering firms, Utah, boom, and it will map it. That's what I did. That's what I did when I was going to California. I mapped out like 20 different places. And then I went and dropped off the resume and cover letter at each one, or I called them first, figured out who I need to talk to. Even if they say do it online, I was like, whatever, I'm coming in, I'm going to drop off the resume, because whatever. I don't know, like, there's nothing that's going to stop me, and if they find that annoying, then I don't want to work for them. If they're going to find my persistence annoying, then we won't be doing good business things. Ask around. You might know people. Different ways that I've gotten jobs is because of my mom talks to somebody else, finds out they're an engineer, and that leads to one thing, and boom, got a job. Contact by land, by air, by sea. Any way that you can, contact them. Website, email, phone call, in person, all that sort of stuff. And it's never too early. Like I was going out trying to get a summer internship around January or so, and like each person's response was like, oh, like you're the first one to like come and talk to us. I was like, perfect. They're like, we're not making those decisions now, but follow up with me, or things like that. You can start to set times after that, even if it is too early for them. You can follow up later. Which brings me to the follow-up. Let them know to expect a follow-up, whether it's an email or a phone call. It's like, hey, I'm going to stop by in the next week or so. Or, hey, you stop by, you drop something off. It's like, hey, I'm going to follow up with an email or a phone call later. Most likely they'll be like, oh, perfect, great. And then they continue on their merry way. But just help them realize that, hey, you mean business, you're not messing around, and you want to work for them. Be patient. So the follow-up is an interesting thing. That kind of gets us into these different things. Be patient, do all these different things, and then don't hold hard feelings if they don't reply. I don't know, if you ask Seth how quickly I responded to some of these emails about speaking here, I was really eager to do it, but sometimes it gets jumbled, and then you move on to another thing, and then realize that these people have a lot of things going on. I had a friend who still to this day holds a grudge for over 4 or 5 years because they never emailed him back or responded to his email to say that they weren't interested. He should have taken the hint that they weren't interested, and he kind of put that pressure on me because it was for a company that I was working with. And I did my best to kind of connect him, but ultimately the stars didn't align for him. So just realize that the people on the other side of things are human, and that if they don't reply, that might mean that that's an answer, but you don't have to take that as an answer. If they haven't replied, go ahead and send them an email back or call them and be like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. I just wanted to see, is this internship spot filled up? Are you still looking for people? Because what does it hurt to ask? You're not losing anything. So, and then there's these different ways you can follow up: email, call, write a note, visit, etc. One thing that you can do to differentiate yourself: write a thank you note and actually use USPS. You guys know what that is, right? You guys mail, snail mail. I don't know, who here has written an actual letter? Or who hasn't before? Okay, I just want to make sure, I don't know. Because the only time I've written letters is maybe to missionaries, or whenever, after every interview that I did, I would always have a small thank you note, and then I would end up sending it to them right that day, just so they get it 1 or 2 days later, and they're like, oh yeah, this Josh just came in, BYU cheerleader. I would always mention that. Whatever my impression thing that I wanted to leave on them, I made sure to reference it so that they weren't like, who came in? So kind of help them along with that. Negotiating offers. So the things to do is you have to do your research. Most companies are going to be fair with whatever sort of offer that they give you, whether it's for an internship or your first job. So do your research. Google, Glassdoor. There's different salary indexes or cost of living analysis platforms if you're moving from Utah. How's that compared to California, vice versa? And you guys are engineers, you're good at analytics and stuff like that, so blow their minds. And then help them realize what kind of value are you bringing to the team. Sometimes it's hard right out of college to be like, this is the value that I'm bringing, because they might not see that as valuable, while to you it is. So, you kind of have to understand what you see as being valuable, they might not. I had that happen because I was like, yeah, I know this analysis software. Oh, I can't even remember what it was. And they looked at me and they're like, what software are you talking about? I was like, oh, I thought that was the go-to structural engineering software or whatever. So that didn't work. That made me fall on my face. And then lastly, kind of, if they don't go up or don't go down or meet you in the middle or anything like that, be okay with that. When I moved to Utah, I negotiated a little bit, but I was like, you know what? You have to put a lot of trust in me. I have to put a lot of trust in you. There's a lot of risk involved. Maybe things won't work out. Maybe I don't want to work here. Maybe you don't like me as an employee. But let's talk. Let's talk in 90 days. Let's see what kind of value I'm bringing to you then. And then we can talk a little bit more about what you pay me. So I use these different strategies for doing research and then also kind of saying, hey, let's talk. Where I was at previously, I had a delta of 40 to 50% increase from when I started, when I was moved to Utah. And since I've moved to Utah in the past year and a half, I've been able to increase my value for the company and get a bump of 10 to 15%. So that's not, you know, you might get, you know, a little bump here and there. In the long term, it adds up. So kind of realize that. Lastly, before Q&A, and if we run out of time for Q&A, feel free to come up and chat with me as well. For your first job, realize it might not be your first job, or it might not be your first and only job. You might use it as a stepping stone to get somewhere else. When I was out in California, I was like, this is my first job. I loved it. I was like, I'm going to stay here. Then life happens, and now I'm in Utah, and I'm at this firm, Dunn Associates, and they're awesome. And so that was a stepping stone for me to learn and grow. Learn everything you can on your first job, just because there's so much to learn from different people. Different people have different backgrounds, and you can learn so much from them. Be patient with yourself. There's so many times when I would come home and be like, oh my gosh, I know nothing. I shouldn't even be an engineer. You know, I don't remember necessarily the last time that I had that sort of experience. It's probably recent where I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. Why do people trust me? But you have to be patient with yourself and know that there's a lot of time to learn and grow. And then set realistic expectations for yourself. So there's a lot more that we could kind of cover. We probably have 2 or 3 minutes for Q&A. I don't know if you guys have questions or if you want to come up afterwards. You can also connect with me on social media and ask me questions as well. Anybody have any questions? Bueller? Yeah. So I kind of had both of those. So the question was, what's my thoughts on getting like a research assistantship versus like an internship? I think they're both great. Whatever you are able to get. I think the research assistantship is going to help you build some of those more technical aspects, which is great, sets you apart from different people. Whereas the internship is going to give you practical stuff and more of those non-technical sort of skills. So I think they're both good. I don't think I would say one is more important to another, because different places will be like, oh yes, we love that you did research on this. And we have a couple people that are PhDs in our office, and so they are driven towards different tasks and things like that. So great question. Yeah.
So I saw the picture